Good evening, everyone. Sorry, we had some technical difficulties earlier. Some difficulties. Anyway,
If you hadn't spilled the Slurpee on the
I
computer,
know.
Mike, it would have been fine.
Guess who's in the room with us? It is Gina Galfetti, State Representative Gina Galfetti, and soon to be again.
Let's hope so. Running my re-election campaign as hard as I can.
You're going to win. You're going to win. Positive of it.
I sure hope so.
You're amazing. You'll do it.
All right. And with that, we can sign off for the night, Mike.
Exactly. How you doing? You doing well?
I'm doing great. It's one of the busiest seasons for me right now because it's campaign season and it is also the peak of the end of painting season, which if I don't make the money now and stash it away, there's no way I can afford to be your legislator coming here in January. So I'm working really hard to get everything knocked out for the fall and get my winter work lined up and be ready to take that seat hopefully again in January.
Oy vey. Oy vey. And I thought I was having problems earlier. Not computer
Look at
problems,
me.
but just
You see
problems.
how well
I'm
dressed
having
I
personal
am, Mike.
problems.
You
That's what
see
happened.
how well dressed I am.
Hey, you know what? Look, I'm dressed in flannel. Or not flannel. They're plaid. It's
Plaid.
really dressed in all the... Speaking of which, when in the State House, are you allowed to wear this kind of clothing? Am I supposed to wear a suit?
I would recommend that you dress for success, Michael Boutin. And whatever you feel successful in is what you should be wearing. The men used to have to wear a coat into the chamber. The rules have kind of been adjusted to business professional. In my experience in the last couple of sessions, some of the rules for attire have kind of slipped, shall we say. But I think that out of respect for the building and respect for the chamber, you should make every effort to be as well dressed as you can be and well groomed.
I feel I am well dressed, and I'm relatively well groomed right now. I mean, I got a little bit of, I need a haircut, but
Yeah,
I mean, my beard is nicely trimmed, and
that's it. They have
You
a
know,
wax for that now, I
they
hear.
do, they do, they do.
And a Dollar Shave Club, shave of the month.
Oh man, that's dangerous. So I do want to get a couple things because Gina and I are gonna talk shop about,
Unaffordable heat,
unaffordable heat and stuff like that.
renewable energy
We're
that's not
probably gonna-
renewable.
Yes, that all that wonderful jazz. But I do want to just touch base on what's happening tomorrow night at City Council. So we will have the second reading of the substantial damage threshold and underground tank requirements for flood hazard area regulations. So the important thing of that is our substantial damage right now is $50,000 or 50%, I believe it is. And when you hit that threshold in the city, which almost everybody does, that 50,000, it kicks in a bunch of these regulations, and regulations are obviously not good. I'm sure I could go over to Gina and she would say, "How do you like regulations?"
There's too many of them, and we need to
Yes.
trim the fat.
Yes. So anyway, the regulations would kick in, and then you would end up having to do all sorts of other things with your house, and we certainly don't want to do that.
Well, regulation equates to an added cost.
It does.
Let's face it.
It does. Right, because in the cases that I've heard of is that people would have to raise their house up.
Yeah.
In some cases, and it's not
It's not
conducive.
feasible.
No, it's not. And then there's the EPA grant, which I heard that could help pay for our public works building, which is really phenomenal. And I hope that's the case. Because Barre City absolutely needs a public works building, not in the floodplain.
Yeah.
which it currently is. Yeah. Do you want to support legislation to give us money for public works building? Oh, on the spot.
I support legislation that doesn't spend much money right now, Mike.
Yeah, I
But
know.
I think focusing on all the things that we can do for flood mitigation and resiliency and response, because that's what the public works building comes down to, is how can you have a public works building in the floodplain and then be prepared to respond to a flood event, because that
Yeah.
just doesn't go hand in hand.
No,
If the
no.
public works building is flooded, they can't do a lot to help in a time of crisis. So I would certainly be in favor of that. I think that, the number one thing for me coming into this election cycle, of course, is affordability and cost. And,
Yeah.
Where is the pot of money coming from to do these types of things, and how we need to address overspending in the legislature so that we can get the targeted resources for things like flood relief and mitigation and overall.
I just realized that I might be having some problems with OBS. So, folks, I do apologize. It's saying it's having issues connecting and unconnecting and stuff. So, I don't know what's going on.
Live.
I am having technical difficulties tonight.
I told you
Wow.
shouldn't have spilled that Slurpee on the
I
keyboard,
know.
Mike.
Good golly.
This is what happens every time.
No kidding. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened. So I'm gonna
The
keep going.
keyboard's gluten free.
Hopefully we're still live, and if we're not, we're just gonna sit here and shoot the breeze with one another and not have to worry about it.
Well, that's what
just-
we are. Class of '98 forever.
That's right. That's right. I heard. So we were. Who was I talking to? Because I think it might have been. Oh, man, I can't remember. We're just talking to somebody about 1998, and I told them that they need to run for office because
Oh, who else are we going to draw into the fold?
We could draw several people in, right? So we do know that. Well, we got Tina, right? Tina
Yep.
Munt, who used to be
Tina Griffith. Yeah,
And thank you for
I
for having my back.
I got you.
And you got me. We've got you. We've got Emma.
Yep.
Mulvaney Stanek. Is there anybody
Who else is on that roster?
I don't know. But
If there's not,
if you are a graduate of 1998,
Luke and Eric Johnson, come back to town. We got a place for you on the roster.
We implore you to run for office so that we can have a school reunion of just politicians.
The caucus. we'll have a caucus at the next school reunion.
Yes. So they're also going to be talking about minimum housing ordinance tomorrow, and the plan is to change it from the federal guidelines to the Vermont state guidelines. So I've heard from a couple landlords that a landlord that they like it. And I think the landlords that were speaking last week were indicating that they like that we're moving to the Vermont standards, which I'm surprised. I would think that the Vermont standards would be higher than the federal
Would be
standards.
more stringent, but...
Right. Well, maybe they aren't. I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure if you give us time, the legislature will make them more stringent,
That
Michael.
is true. Just wait patiently.
Maybe we shouldn't put that on the air.
Oh man, that's very possible. And also, there's going to be $223,974 for ARPA funding. In ARPA funding for the BOR manifold, which is at imminent risk of failure. So that'll be on the docket for tomorrow. Yes, ma'am.
What is the VOR manifold? What is it?
Why
What is
would
this?
you
Is
say
this
that?
like the,
Why would you even
is
ask?
This,
I
is
was hoping.
this
I
the?
was hoping to just get by without even.
Uh-oh.
I thought I was going to
We've
skate
put
by
Mike
on
on
that one.
this spot. I'm guessing
So
it has to do with some sort of heat or energy
it's a
exchange of some sort.
critical infrastructure
Yeah.
that I don't really know what it is. So folks that are in the know, and if you're watching, please feel free to post
Drop something in the chat.
drop something in
Bring
the
us up
chat
to
about
speed.
what the
The
BOR
manifold is.
is.
I'm guessing it has something to do with the heating or cooling
It
or
has to
something.
be. I mean, it has to be the cooling, right? Because of
Yeah.
the ice.
Yeah.
And I feel terrible that I don't know, but I just
We
don't
should
know.
phone a friend. We should call Topper McFawn. I'm sure he knows what it is. He put that building up.
Did he?
Just about, yeah.
Really? I did not know that.
Yeah, Topper was a big part of the BOR, if memory serves me correctly.
I'm not surprised at all. Not surprised at all that he would be part of that. He's been part of quite a bit. I mean, he's been around for quite a while.
Yeah, school board,
doing
select
stuff.
board.
He's done it all.
He has.
Done it.
And a state employee for 40 some odd years, I believe.
Do you know what he did as a state employee?
Back to you, Mike.
I feel better and vindicated.
Yes, yeah, I see now.
And then, of course, we have school. The school board is meeting, which, for folks that don't know, we have passed the budget. I'm advocating for the budget. That being said, this week we're going to be talking about policy, so super exciting stuff. But
And the next vote is on
that's on September 17th.
the 17th.
The
Great.
17th.
Which is next Tuesday, right? Week from Tuesday?
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, it is.
Coming into it.
Week from Tuesday.
Yeah.
Oof. So if you have your absentee ballots, bring them to the, I wouldn't risk it. I would just bring it. But
Bring
if
it
you
to the
want to
bowl.
risk it,
You could still try to mail it
them
in.
But I certainly would not mail them in if no
At
later
this
than
point.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
I personally would just drop them off at the clerk's office, either in Barre City or Barre Town, which corresponding community you live in. But all right, so you want to talk about legislative updates? Lots of fun. Let's talk about the clean heat standard, because everybody loves the clean heat standard, right? Aren't you a big proponent?
You mean the
Aren't you a big
Unaffordable
proponent?
Heat Act?
It
started out as the Clean Heat Standard, and we were able to sustain the veto on that one, and then it came back, and it morphed into the Unaffordable Heat Act, which, if you've been keeping up in the press lately, some of the most recent projections are calling for a $8 per gallon increase in fuels. I said that right.
I'm sorry. Wait a minute.
That's 8.
Did you just say $8?
It's exploding on the launch pad as we speak. There's only 2 legislators thus far that have signed on to say that they're going to support it in the next session. Projections from Julie Moore were 70 cents with her back of the envelope math. Then we got somewhere into the realm of $3 to $4. And then I believe it was Rob Roper who just recently wrote an article calling for an even bigger increase of like $7 or $8 was going to be closer to the mark. And I think you can read about that in VT Daily Chronicle. I believe they have that. I can Google too, Mike. I'm not just the woman behind the curtain.
Well, technically, you're in front of the curtain right now.
True, but you're the man behind the curtain.
I am the man behind the curtain.
When do we get to see the wizard?
When we see the wizard, what we've hoped and waited for, you can be all that you
Do you hear that, Mike?
wanted.
Do you hear that? I hear something.
Is that someone saying,
something.
please stop?
I think it's a cat dying somewhere. Oh, That's a shame.
Uh,
That's a
I
shame.
don't know what's going on here. Like, my system is completely failing on me. I've lost a couple more platforms. I don't know what's going on.
Maybe you're being cyber bombed.
That could be. That could be the case. I'm no longer streaming to air it out and not streaming to Barry Beat.
So are we even on,
We
man?
are. We are. We are on, but some reason there's something going on, and I don't know what it is. So, folks, I feel terrible. Poor Gina. She came down here, and yeah, we're just having all sorts of fun. But yes, so the clean heat standard. Yeah, I hadn't heard that it had gotten up to $8 a gallon.
Yeah, there was somebody's,
Um,
which were actually what Myers Mermel's projections were 2 years ago when it passed, when he crunched all of the numbers, and that was what he had come up with. And there was an article just recently um, that came out, and I'm sorry I can't cite it better for you, Mike.
no, it's fine. It's the clean heat standard. I know that folks are super excited about that, but let me just tell you, you should be, because at the end of the day, Barry City, Barry Town, our community in general, unless you have a heat pump, which, as a side note, I've heard that heat pumps don't work too well during, the really, really cold days, which we do get occasionally up in Vermont. But, and I might be wrong on that. I could be very wrong. But the point is that not everybody has a heat pump. And those are supposed to be the clean, the cleaner version. I guess it's supposed to save you money or something, and I just don't know, because I live in an old house with steam heating,
Oh,
right? And we have a furnace, and I go through about $5,000 worth of gas or fuel annually, and it's not five, yeah, 5,000 annually. I mean, it's expensive. It's super expensive, and I'm sure I'm not alone on that. I know others have the same problem.
yeah. I mean, the bottom line is, it's a regressive tax,
Yeah.
Mike. It's gonna hit low-income Vermonters the hardest. The people that can't afford to convert their homes, the people that can't take advantage of subsidies, because you have to have money up front,
Yep.
right, to take advantage of a subsidy. And if you don't have the upfront money to put into something like this, you're not going to be able to realize the benefits that potentially go along with it. And again, if it's a subsidy, we see the cost for those who can afford to pay, so they can upgrade their house. They can put in the charging stations, they can put in the heat pumps. So they're paying that upfront cost, right? Then when we have to subsidize everybody else to get up to that standard, they're paying the cost again as taxpayers. So they're paying twice to bring the rest of the folks up to the standard that where it needs to be. And it's ludicrous to think that this state can afford anything that remotely resembles the Unaffordable Heat Act. And we already have the infrastructure in place through the Weatherization Assistance Program to do what the Affordable Heat Act proclaims to do, which is to weatherize the homes of low-income folks, because that's what you need to be focused on. It's not the heat pump conversion thing. It needs to be weatherization, because that's where the biggest savings is. That's the low-hanging fruit. It's not converting your house to a heat pump. It's not changing to 100% renewable energy, as the renewable energy standard claims. It's about weatherization. And if we are funding that program, we draw down federal money that goes into the Weatherization Assistance Program, so it's offsetting the cost. But nobody seems to be having that conversation right now, because they're too focused on this pie in the sky idea that we're going to get fuel companies to bear the cost of this legislation. We all know it's getting passed to the end user, and we all know that it's going to put virtually every fuel company, except for the real big players in Vermont, out of business. So that kills the market diversity and is going to drive up the cost of fuel on its own, plus what the Unaffordable Heat Act does to it.
Yeah, it's not good.
$4 a gallon.
Good. Yeah, that's
Four.
That was on, but
Not
you just
eight,
said
4.
You just said 8 though.
I did say 8. It's late.
It's late.
It's late.
Oh, so it is 4. Okay.
It's 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. $4. That's what I had heard, that it was
yeah,
going to be
$4 a gallon
extra.
Yeah, extra. So basically
Not-
doubling the cost of
yeah.
your fuel.
Making it $8 a gallon.
Making it $8 a gallon,
Right.
exactly.
Although I think I pay 5 something a gallon, so it would probably be.
What are you heating with?
I'm heating with fuel. I think I'm getting a bad deal.
I think you're getting a bad deal too. I just locked in at $3.69.
Really?
Yeah, I pre-bought for the whole year.
Who do you have?
Can't say.
Really?
Yeah, you gotta call and do some negotiating. I had Irving, and then I switched to a smaller local distributor.
Oh.
And I called Irving back up and said, "Hey, what can you guys do for me?" And they matched it. And so I called the other guy back up and I said, "Irving can do this," and he matched that. And I ended up coming in at $3.69, and that's with a pre-buy. I'm buying it all now. So I had to shuck out, like
Okay.
$2,000 for all
Yeah.
my heating fuel for the winter, which
Yeah.
there's a sting there.
There is a sting. And thankfully
Very
you're
few
able to-
people can afford
Right.
to do that.
Exactly. And I was just going to make that comment. I know, especially in Barre City, we can't afford to do that.
Yeah.
And certainly when it comes to adding an additional $4 on there.
Yeah, and there was a sidebar within that contract that said whatever additional expenses come to pass because of the Unaffordable Heat Act, that could be added to the bill. So I'm not locked in and insulated from whatever happens with this legislation. Nobody can be insulated from that because, of course, the fuel dealer can't be insulated from that, and they're going to have to pass the cost on to the end user.
Was there enough people on there that, because I know the Vermont Daily Chronicle did a survey.
Yep.
Do you know if there was enough people to support the bill, the clean heat?
Right now, I believe there's only 2 legislators that have come out in support of it as it sits and signed on and really put their name on it. At this point,
Do you know them? Do you know their names?
I'm not sure who.
Oh, okay.
I'm not
just
sure who
curious.
signed on. I just heard that number the other day that 2 people had actually signed on to this ludicrous idea of what the PUC has come back with after this study going forward for what the increased cost of home heating fuels is going to be. And you look at that too, and I mean, what's the goal here, Mike, of the Unaffordable Heat Act?
Well, I mean,
What's the
cynically?
goal altruistically?
Cynically? Do you want me to be
no,
cynical?
no.
Oh, you want me-
Altruistically, what was the goal of
is
this?
To lower carbon in our state.
Right. So what
Which-
happens when the cost of fuel doubles? What are people going to heat with?
They're going to heat with, well, they'll just end up having to, I mean, people will probably heat with wood, right?
Thank you.
is
Exactly.
what will
And
end
other
up
forms of biomass.
Yeah.
Which does what, Mike?
Add to the carbon footprint of our
Thank you very
state.
much.
But maybe people will install heat pumps at $10,000 a pop.
Right, and thanks to the renewable energy standard, which we passed last session, mandating that we have to be buying all of our energy from renewable sources or producing. It mandates that we produce all renewable energy in the state of Vermont, which Vermont does produce 100% renewable energy for what it produces. We use way more than what we can actually produce. So we buy from them and we buy from them. And we have this very complex system of carbon credits, renewable energy credits, that net metering plays into, and other heating and cooling and energy uses. Either you have a some gain or some loss for renewable energy credits. But the bottom line is, when the renewable energy standard has gone into effect, if we can't source 100% green energy, going to be in a position where we have to buy these renewable energy credits. Who's going to pay for that, Mike?
It's going to be a regressive tax on individuals that cannot afford it.
Exactly.
Just like almost everything that's
exactly.
done. Yeah, it's really
everything that we have done, right down to the, the school lunch program for everybody. Another regressive tax. I mean, don't even get me started on the $25,000 first-time home buyers credit that our presidential...
25,000.
25,000, yeah.
25,000.
$25,000 tax credit. I'm not sure where that money's going to come from, but what's it going to do?
Yeah.
Add $25,000 to the cost of every house in America.
Yeah. That, and it's also going to spike housing demand, which is a little concerning in a bubble that we're already in.
Yeah.
I think it's a bubble, but maybe it's not.
Well, I think we live in a bubble.
We do live in a bubble.
Vermont's a very, very insulated bubble. I mean, if you look at 2008 and how we fared during the whole economic downturn compared to the rest of the country, we were relatively insulated from the economic, the housing market downturn compared to a lot of other markets and places. And right now, real estate availability in Vermont is scanty, as we know.
Yeah.
And I don't see that getting better. From my perspective as a builder and contractor, I just see more and more folks moving in. And the problem with that is they're not tradespeople. They're not skilled labor. They're not skilled nursing. They're not technical folks. They are remote workers, high dollar, high salary folks. But when you need your toilet swapped out, those folks aren't moving in, they're moving out.
Yeah, that's true. Sadly, that's true. Do you want to talk about something? Wait, hold on.
Let's go.
Have we talked about? I haven't had you on here for a long time.
No.
So the vape bill?
The vape bill died.
It died?
It died on the wall.
Are you sad?
No. No, I'm not. That was my opus. That was my victory of last session. And
take a bow.
And not because I don't believe that children need to not have access to flavored tobacco products. I absolutely 100% think that vaping and teen vaping is a problem. However, that bill would have done nothing to stop teen vaping. When you can go online to any one of dozens of sites where all you have to do is click I am 21 and have the UPS man deliver your flavored vapes in the course of 5 days, we're not addressing a problem. We're creating a problem, and we're driving business out of the state, and we're sucking money out of the education fund, which, as we all know, with the tax increase we've seen, we can nary afford to suck the kind of money out of the education fund that the vapes taxed at 100% produce.
So it died in committee. Is that what you're...
Yes, it did.
Okay.
Yes,
nice.
It did. That one stayed stuck to the wall, and that was because property taxes were going up so much. The idea of taking another $40 to $60 million of revenue out of the ed fund
Yeah, that would
was
have been bad.
implausible.
Yep. Good. Well, I'm glad. I am, for those that know, obviously, most people know that I'm anti-smoking, anti-drinking, blah, 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 chew, whatever. But I also don't think that we should probably be, like, ripping money out of our ed fund
Nor
to
should
make
we
us
be
feel...
penalizing adults that are of age and able to make choices for themselves for a very narrow margin of children whose vaping problems. Where do they begin, Mike?
I don't know about the vaping. What I don't understand is it extremely unhealthy? Like
The jury's out.
Right.
Nobody
well, that's
knows.
the thing. Like, I feel like everybody talks about it being unhealthy, but I don't know. I don't know the actual stats on it.
There's really not a lot of conclusive research on vapes because they're so new.
Yeah.
We don't know the long-term effects. There were a few additives and chemicals that were in there that had very very
metallic,
bad,
right?
very bad
Metals.
short-term outcomes. But barring those chemicals which have been taken out of all these flavored products, or barring having some sort of illegal vape. And something that's interesting to note is that there's a big push in the state not to sell something that hasn't been approved by the FDA, right? You can't sell any flavored vapes that haven't been approved by the FDA, which is not true. You actually can sell a flavored vape as long as it's in the pipeline for approval from the FDA. However, what kind of vapes aren't approved by the FDA?
Marijuana?
Thank you, Mike. We readily sell flavored marijuana vapes right, left, and sideways in this state, along with other flavor-branded marijuana products. So what are we really saying here?
So what really needs to happen is that people need to take the tobacco, change it from marijuana to, or not marijuana, they need to change it to, partially tobacco-ish or whatever vapes, but with a little hint of marijuana, and then it becomes okay? No?
You may be onto something there,
I know,
Mike
just
Boutin.
a little bit, just like
just
1%.
just enough,
not enough to affect.
No, like 0.0000, and then you could just buy it at the dispensary. I think you're onto something there.
There you go.
Mike Boutin, you just found the workaround.
You
just found the workaround.
The money for it.
I think Philip Morris is gonna owe you some royalties, man.
Oh man, that's terrible. So, what else do you want to talk about? You want to talk about flood resiliency?
Well, let's talk about how your campaign's going, Mike. How's your campaign going?
How's my campaign going?
Yeah.
Well,
it's a lot, isn't it?
It's interesting.
Yeah. You were right in.
Yep.
How was that? How was that? How did you pull that off?
A lot of help from folks. It was. I would actually chuck this up to our chair of the Barre City Republicans, who is absolutely amazing, and she has done more for. I've been involved-ish with the Republican Party since like 2010, and I haven't seen the party so active as I see it now. It reminds me of back in the day, back in the 2010, when we actually had a partial representative in Barre City that was Republican.
Yes.
Patty Lewis.
Yes.
I think it was Patty Lewis.
Yeah.
And she represented a portion of Barre City. Not my portion, but a portion of it.
Part
And
of it.
then Pat McDonald was there. Granted, a lot of that had to do with, Berlin voting Republican.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, we haven't seen this much.
Activity in the
It's been
party.
quite a bit. Yeah, I'm very impressed.
That's exciting
And she's
because
doing
write-in campaigns are wildly unsuccessful.
Yeah, and that
And to
I mean,
pull that
it was
off is
200.
that's
was
quite
200.
that's quite the coup d'état.
Yeah, it was. I was pretty surprised by that, but I would definitely say that was all the work of Rosemary Averill,
All right.
who happens to be my cousin, who is also, she's amazing.
All right. So that's exciting. That's an
Yeah.
exciting thing to have to pull off
Yeah.
in the
And
beginning. And it brings you into the whole game a little bit later than everybody else. So do you feel like you're trying to make up ground?
Well, I think running in Barre City, you have to make up ground in general. It's a very pro-Democrat city. Or should I say it has been for the last 10 years since we changed our district to a 2-person district,
Yep.
which I think personally I am very much against. I think that districts should have, it makes it so that it's a one-party community. And
Right.
I'm just not a big fan of that. And I know that Barre Town has a
Two-member district
person.
as
Yeah.
well, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm just not a big fan of the.
Well, two-member districts are difficult because when you come into the general election, there's something that people don't understand. And for all of you out there, bullet voting.
You should bullet vote for Republicans in Barre City. I'm just saying.
Bullet voting is your most useful tool if you're in a two-member district and there's not a full card of folks that you want to vote for. You only need to vote for one. Just because you can vote for two does not mean you need to vote for two. Because if you're voting for one candidate who you really want to win and then just picking another candidate at random, you're basically canceling your vote out. So that the power of bullet voting cannot be stressed highly enough, especially for someone like Mike. Either bullet voting, or I know that you're in pretty close contact with Carol Dawes.
Yep.
Vote Republican, vote Independent.
Absolutely.
Stay away from the D's.
I agree with that. I've done a write-up saying that I support Carol. I think she's a phenomenal candidate. We do not agree on everything, but we definitely have a lot. I agree with how she approaches things.
I think she's fiscally responsible,
She
and
is.
that's the most important thing that we need
Yeah,
going back into the State House in January.
I would agree with that. I'm super hopeful that she'll get in.
Yeah. You don't spend as many years behind the desk that she spent all of those years behind and not understand the fiscal realities
Yeah,
of a small state like Vermont.
true. Very true. Yeah. Anything else?
I don't know, Mike. What else is going on with the campaign? Have you got buttons? Have you got signs?
I do.
Have you got
I
all that
have-
stuff?
So I put out my signs.
Yeah.
Have you put out your signs?
I'm popping the signs next
You're
weekend.
popping the signs.
I'm popping the signs. It's going to be a blitzkrieg.
It's going to be.
Of
That's
signs.
what I did. I dumped probably about 70 signs on Saturday.
Nice.
It was-
I've seen your
Yeah.
signs popping up all over the place. It's like
Whoop.
deploy the signs. Don't take that as another moniker from another candidate, but deploy the signs.
Oh, he's going to be here. Thank you for pointing that out. Gerald Malloy is going to be in the studio next week.
All right.
So that's
All right. I saw him on Sunday. And he's got a tough road ahead of him for sure, but I applaud him for throwing his hat in the ring and giving it a try.
Yeah, I met his wife.
Yeah, what is her name?
Oh, I wish
You
I
can't
had
remember.
asked.
I can't remember either.
Nice
Lovely
lady.
woman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very nice, but can't remember her
Makes a
name.
heck of an apple pie, too.
Mrs. Malloy.
Yes, Mrs. Malloy.
Mrs. Malloy.
Makes a great apple pie.
Does she?
Yeah, she was in the dessert challenge at the event that I was on Sunday.
Oh,
There's
nice.
a number of desserts that were voted on. And, not to plug the guy shamelessly, but Mike Gilbar's maple cake was off the charts. And he's a good guy. He's a good dude. Mike Gilbar is a good dude, sweetheart.
Nice.
His maple cake is amazing.
Sounds very probably something I shouldn't have.
Oh yeah, it's got sugar, it's got gluten, it's got everything you could
It's
need
got
in it.
all. All right. Well, we're pushing 9 o'clock. I won't keep you long. I do appreciate you coming down and shooting the breeze with me.
Thanks for having me, Mike. It's great
Yeah.
to see you, and it's just great to see you stepping up too and putting your hat in the ring, because you've been behind the scenes all this time, and you've been working hard, and you've been on city council, and I just see you taking this next step as a fantastic thing going forward, and really, I'm pulling for you, Mike.
Well, I'm pulling for you too. I'm telling everybody to vote for Gina Galfetti because she's just amazing, and we need 1998 representation.
That's
And
it.
we're going to have it. Barre City and Barre Town, 1998 representation.
That's it. Just don't do the Howard Dean.
No. Oh, man.
No Kayabungas. Save that for the Teenage Mutant and Ninja
Yes.
Turtles.
Carol Hebert says, hi, good luck to both of you, and we need common sense in Montpelier. Yes, something
Thanks,
that's
Carol.
not very common in Montpelier is common sense.
Carol's the best. That's
she
that's
is.
my treasure, man. She is.
Oh, she is?
She's the hardest working lady in Barrytown
She
and
is.
in the county for the Republican
I
Party.
agree.
She has put together so much. Carol, big shout out to Carol Hebert.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, everybody, thank you for watching the Barry Beat, and we'll see you hopefully next week. Once again, Gerald Malloy will be in the studio, and hopefully we won't have any issues.
No more Slurpees on the desk,
no Slurpees
Mike.
on the desk. Have a great night.